Hi everyone, MJ here. I'd like to teach you 3 techniques for making little silk ribbon roses. The classic folded rose but with a tutu added, a gathered rose, and a French knot rose. The French knot rose is a ribbon embroidery technique, whereas the other 2 are ribbon work. For these techniques, I am using our hand-dyed silk ribbon, which creates flowers or stitches with a more dynamic look. The tools you'll want to have handy for these techniques are size 10 milliner's needle for ribbon work, chenille needles for ribbon embroidery, a small ruler, scissors and needle nose pliers, thread conditioner, hand sewing thread either matching or neutral, a pencil, possibly spray sizing or starch. For these techniques, I'll be using both 7mm and 13mm hand-dyed silk ribbons, and this graphic shows the amounts of ribbon you'll need for each technique. So let's begin with the folded rose with tutu. Slip thread into the size 10 milliner's needle and condition the thread. The thread is doubled and there is no knot at the thread ends. Working with 9 inches of 7mm ribbon, fold end over diagonally. Fold ribbon over on itself, then roll ribbon into a tight coil beginning at folded edge. This will be the flower center and what I call the center post. Stitch at the base of the post 3 times, locking the thread without needing a knot, and then drop the needle. Fold the ribbon diagonally to the back, then roll center post upper edge to align with the diagonal fold. Pinch ribbon near base to hold fold in place. At any time, take a little stitch if needed. Once you begin the diagonal folding process, the lower edges will no longer align. Fold ribbon diagonally to the back again and roll the upper edge of the emerging rose to align with the diagonal fold. Try to have a bit of a light hand. Continue to diagonally fold and roll the ribbon until half the ribbon has been used. Now fully secure those folds at the base of the center post. At this point, the folded rose without the tutu is finished, so let's make the tutu. Turn flower upside down so center post tail is visible. Gather stitch along lower edge, having stitch length a scant 1/8 of an inch long. Keep the needle stationary while pushing the ribbon onto the needle. At ribbon end, stitch from the lower selvage edge to the upper selvage edge. This process allows for an easy finish. Pull thread to gather ribbon. Unruffle gathers a bit in order to evenly wrap tutu around the center post, continuing to work upside down. If you want to peek from the right side, it's okay. Once adjusted, stitch through the center post and out the other side, pulling thread tight. Adjust the ruffle, then stitch through and through several times so that tutu stays nicely in place. Finish on underside with a few whip stitches, then trim off any excess ribbon and the thread. Now make a bunch of them. A 7mm folded rose with tutu is about 5/8 of an inch, and a 13mm one is about 1 inch. Let's make a gathered rose. The flower on the left is our 13mm folded rose with tutu, and on the right, a 13mm gathered rose. Once again, we're using doubled conditioned thread in the milliner's needle. Fold ribbon end over diagonally as for the folded rows, then fold as shown and roll tightly to form the coiled center. Stitch at lower selvage edge to secure the center post. Form a small pleat that is a scant 1/8 inch deep. Stitch pleat to center post at the base. Give the post a 1/4 turn and stitch that turn, then pleat the ribbon a second time and secure that pleat. When I make this flower with 7mm ribbon, I will only form one pleat, as the second one just gets lost. Measure about 4 inches along the lower selvage edge and gather stitch to that mark. Pull thread to gather ribbon, forming a ruffle. Wrap the ruffle around the center post, working upside down, and secure it in place in the same manner as was done with the folded rows with tutu. Now, gather stitch the remaining length of the ribbon. Pull thread to gather it and position ruffle around center post, again working upside down. When pleased with how the layers look, secure everything in place by stitching through and through the center post multiple times. For a variation on this technique, try layering 7mm ribbon over the 13mm ribbon in a contrasting shade, then working the two ribbons as one, and likewise you can layer two 7mm ribbons together too. Let's embroider a French knot rose. This technique is an alternative to both the folded rows with tutu and the gathered rows. Working with no more than an 18-inch length of ribbon, cut ribbon end diagonally, then thread through the needle. Stitch the tip of the needle through the short ribbon end and pull on the long tail so that the ribbon locks onto the needle. Fold the opposite end over on itself for about 1/4 inch, stitch through both layers about 1/8 inch from the folded edge, and then slide those folds down the needle shaft and all the way down to the ribbon end. Bring ribbon to the surface where desired in your composition. Measure 4 inches from the entry point. This measurement can be 3.5 inches, which is what I used for the darker pink roses. It can be greater than 5 inches too. It's a matter of testing. Position the needle near the mark, wrap ribbon around needle as would be done to form a French knot. Slide the ribbon and the needle back to reveal the mark, then pierce the ribbon at the mark and stitch in and out through the center of the ribbon at stitch lengths that are similar to the ribbon width. Each stitch length does not have to be perfect, but it does need to be close to the ribbon's width. When you reach the entry point, stitch through the ribbon and the fabric. Slide the French knot down to meet the surface, then stitch ribbon through to the back side. Pull ribbon through using the aid of a needle nose plier and pull the ribbon snugly. The French knot anchors the stitch. When you have finished a length of ribbon or the task at hand, secure ribbon on back side with needle and thread, then trim away the excess ribbon. With the same needle and thread, stitch up through the rows and take 2 or 3 tiny invisible stitches to further anchor each rose. So now have a little playtime with all the flowers you've made. Let's explore some embellishment ideas. For instance, on this little velvet frame, I've embellished the opening with folded roses with tutus. The gathered rose would work just as well, and I've added in some French knot roses for size variation. On one of our stacked turbans, we utilize the French knot rose, and sometimes I'll use a 3.5 millimeter ribbon to make tiny roses and embroider those onto a piece of trim. I wanted to try using a lot of these little flowers to encrust a heart shape, which I could then pin or glue to a little velvet easel. I like the idea of encrusting a shape with these techniques and using a lot of different ribbon shades and widths. I hope you've learned a lot in these 10 minutes that will be valuable for you. And we look forward to having a visit from you soon.